But for those in whom ignorance is destroyed by wisdom, for them wisdom lights up the Supreme Self like the sun. This verse describes what happens when one sees the form of the Supreme Self. The ignorance that was described in the last verse, that's covering wisdom and bewildering creatures, can, according to this verse, be destroyed by wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is not just a body of information. We know a lot of things, and a lot of things come to our understanding. So how do we become wise? But do we become wise because of this? No. Our scriptures say that moksha dihi gnanam, meaning one whose intellect is geared towards liberation is wise. Moksha dihi gnanam, meaning one whose intellect is geared towards liberation is wise. Does the wisdom that we acquire take us towards moksha, liberation? Because of the bondages of the material world, we get pleasures and pains. We therefore have a complaint. I will not define pleasures and pains because everyone has different pleasures and pains. Some people get pleasures from ice cream, some people get pain from ice cream. Therefore, you can never, you can only generalize pleasures and pains. You cannot define them. They're very relative things. It depends on the particular person what their pleasures and pains are. The person determines these himself. One, of course, wants to be liberated, but how can this happen? Does the wisdom that we acquire take us towards moksha? We do not have to go very far. When you're reading, listening to this commentary on the Gita, sit down and quietly think whether the words of Shri Krishna that you listen to take you towards liberation. Does it help you become free from the complaints you have towards life? For example, you wish to get rid of something, or if you wish to escape something, or you're tired of something. If so, then it's wisdom. Moksha dihi gnanam. If it doesn't, then consider that it's a problem of either the speaker or the listener, meaning that either you've not listened properly or I have not spoken properly, because the words are of Shri Krishna and we cannot deny this. Moksha dihi gnanam. What is ignorance like? How do we spend our lives? What is the blindness that people have today? Thinkers give a very nice example. There was a beggar in a town. He would begin his business every morning. His business was begging. He would start the day shouting very loud, asking people to spare him some money, and that if they do, they have God's blessings. He said that all the things that beggars normally say, and very loudly as well. At midday, this poor person gets very tired because he's gotten up this morning with such high hopes that someone will donate something big to him. He has such a wish that somebody rich will give him a lot of money or a piece of gold or silver so he can escape from this daily life from begging. A beggar will always have this dream that one day he'll become a millionaire. He has this dream that one day a rich person will give him a lot of money. He goes out begging every day and has this wish for gold or silver pieces, but he doesn't get any coins. He gets very tired by midday. He becomes disappointed because he had such high hopes, and in this disappointment he starts drinking. When you see someone drinking, then know it is to hide some disappointment that they're drinking. Why do people get intoxicated? It's because they have some disappointment when they're conscious that they want to be unconscious. In order to hide this, they put on the disguise of unconsciousness. And beggars need to be unconscious. Any beggar needs this. No matter how well somebody's life are going, if they're intoxicated, then consider them a beggar. No matter if someone's a millionaire, if they go in search of any type of intoxication, consider them a beggar. If there is a beggar who doesn't need intoxication, then consider them to be an emperor. He'll become a lot himself. The beggar gets tired and disappointed at midday, and therefore he starts drinking. Then he cannot say anything because he's drunk. He has kept a board for himself on the pavement. He brings out the board that says, "I am blind, deaf and dumb. Help me as much as you wish." He stops talking and sits behind the board. Evening comes and people have given him money. When a person gets intoxicated, then whatever money he gets would only lead him more towards intoxication. This is one of the characteristics of intoxication. When one is awake from the beginning, then the more money that comes to him, then the more awake he should become. But when a person is intoxicated from the beginning, then the more money that comes to him, the deeper he goes into his intoxication. He has drunk so much, and therefore he's so intoxicated he can't even stand up anymore. He puts some words on the other side of the board because the board is reversible. So he changes the board around. He has become so drunk that he falls to the ground and cannot move. When he turns the board around, it reads, "I am completely paralyzed. I have polio that has spread throughout my whole body. I cannot move even slightly, so please help me." The situation of this beggar represents the situation of human beings. At the beginning of our lives, we have so much energy, so much wishes, and so many ambitions. We run after each and every one of them. Midday of our lives come and we realize that what we're saying is not working and we're not understanding what other people are saying. We become blind, deaf and dumb. At the evening of our lives, we become so paralyzed and can't move. We have hands and yet we can't use them. We have feet and yet we cannot walk. This is paralysis. Such a human life goes to waste. But when a human being gets wisdom and his intellect turns into the direction of liberation, then he leaves the life of the beggar and turns into the direction of becoming an emperor. Shri Krishna uses the word Gnanetu, meaning the first two words of this verse. The word tu has a very clear meaning. Srimad Adi Shankaracharya Ji and Shankarana Ji interpret this as meaning that it's not possible to destroy ignorance by any other method than wisdom. The word tu means that only by wisdom is ignorance destroyed. Nanye panta vidyat na, meaning there is no other way. If you want to make this darkness go away, then you need light and nothing else will work. In the same way, if you want to make ignorance go away, then you need wisdom, otherwise nothing else will work. What is wisdom? It is within our soul. It's just as close as ignorance. You do not need to bring it from anywhere else on the outside. You only need to set it alight within yourself. The soul itself is a great energy, but it's intangible. There is a flame inside with matches, but it can't come out by the matches can't come out by just sitting in the box. They need to come in contact with the heat. They need to be rubbed against the friction on the box. This is the effort that needs to be made. The potentiality is there inside human beings, but human beings have not made use of the potential inside themselves. The soul is a great energy, but it is intangible. The box is there, the melted butter is there, the bowl is there, and the matches are right next to you. You only have to light it. If you do not light it, then the melted butter will stay there for years, the box will stay there for years, and the bowl will stay there for years. If the match is lighted, then it can light up the entire room and get rid of the darkness. This can only happen because of wisdom and no other way. What else can you do to get rid of darkness? If a person comes with a sword in the room in order to try to get rid of the darkness and keeps wiping the sword everywhere, then he will get very sweaty and tired and will come out after all these efforts. What is darkness? It's the absence of light. In the same way, we saw earlier that ignorance is not wisdom, but having a lack of wisdom. One can reduce the lack of wisdom. The matches, box and bowl are there, but what does one need? 3 things are needed. First, there must be a wish to get rid of the darkness. Second, there must be a wish to light the match. Third, one should learn how to keep the flame from the match within the limits of the bowl, otherwise the flame could lead to a fire that could set alight the entire house. This is because the fire has the strength. In the same way, if one wishes to attain the light of the soul, he needs 3 things. The first is the 3 S's. The first is sankalp, resolve. The second is sahas, courage. And the third is sayam, control. The first is sankalp, resolve. The second is sahas, courage. And the third is sayam, control. First, resolve. One should have the attitude that they wish to attain the light of the soul and to destroy the ignorance that's been running through many lives. The resolve should come to one's mind. While there's no resolve, you can't perform any task. Our scriptures say that all tasks, all works begin with a resolve. When you go to worship at a temple, the priest always tells you to hold the water in your hands and you have resolved. After this, the task begins. Therefore, if you wish to attain the soul, then the first thing you need is resolve. You need willpower. You need determination. I'm not talking about a wish, I'm talking about willpower, because wishes can be very lukewarm. You can have one wish one day, but it can go away the next day. I wish can turn into a dislike, but there is no antonym for willpower. Willpower can never be broken. A wish and a dislike are both breakable. When a person goes beyond wishes and dislikes to become very steady, then he attains the state of being resolved. This cannot break. At this stage, one should have a wish to attain the light of the soul. Most people that wish to attain the soul fall at the first step. They have no willpower. Many wishes come, but one does not reach the state of having a steady resolve. One may be sitting at a discourse at the feet of a holy and great person, and the wish immediately arises to them that they now wish to attain the soul. But that wish does not last. One needs a resolve. Second, one needs courage. There are 2 types of courage. One is the courage that one will do whatever it takes. One should have the courage because he wants the light of wisdom and is therefore prepared to do whatever it takes. There are some saints in a Sufi sect where if someone went to them and told them that they wanted the truth, the saints would ask them, how much would you want the truth? Do you really want the truth? He would say, yes. The saints say, where then should I send your ashes? The man would hesitate, saying, I've come here in search of the truth. Why are you telling me where should I send my ashes? The saints say, yes, because you can even die on this path. Where should I send your ashes? Have you come here with that much preparation? You must have the determination to do whatever it takes. There is a bhajan called Mata Sate. A guru accepts a student for the price of the student's head. By this, I don't mean that the student's head gets chopped off. I mean that the student's head needs to be changed. Until now, the student has his mind filled with prejudices, misconceptions, stereotypes, doubts, hatred, and blind faiths. But the guru has to get all of these out. The head needs to be taken out and replaced with a new head, because many people have this former type of head. A person does not become free from the prejudices. Many people go to the saint and come back having confirmed and strengthened their prejudices. If we say what people like from the Vyaspeed of holy speaking stand where people speak, then people call us very wise. But when we say something that people don't like, then they don't accept it in their minds. This means that the listener did not attain anything new, but only had to make their head strong. They strengthened their prejudices. They just strengthened the prejudices in their head and went back. People are not prepared to accept anything new. You need to have the courage to do whatever it takes. One time, a person was giving discourses. An elderly person always used to come and listen attentively to discourses and always sat near the front. He came to about 10 discourses in a row. Those that give discourses always become familiar with those that come regularly to the discourses. They can tell from someone's eyes whether they're a regular listener of discourses. The person giving the discourses and the elderly man got to know each other, and the person giving the discourses found that the elderly man had a son. The person giving the discourses asked the elderly man that he always comes to the discourses, but why doesn't he bring his son along? After all, his life will get fruitful and he'll get peace of mind. The elderly man has had his benefits from the discourses, but now he can use this so the younger person gets benefits as well. Not only that, after hearing the discourses, he can put everything he learned into practice, because Dharma is an experiment with one's own self. The elderly man said that all of this is correct, but his son would have no business coming to the discourse. He said that his mind is unripe. The speaker said that this is the exact type of person that needs to come to discourses so his mind can be made ripe and his life would change. He's had around 50 years to live, and so he'd be able to preserve the religion. The elderly man said he's of unripe mind. The person said that it's because he has an unripe mind that he should come to the discourses, because now the unripe mind can be directed, but later it will be difficult. The elderly person said, if he hears that what you're talking about, such as wisdom and detachment, and leaves everything, that will be difficult for me. Rather than that, I'll come to your discourses, as it will have no effect on me. I'll stay just the way I am. How can such a person attain wisdom of the soul? That is why I say that one should be prepared to do whatever it takes. Only the youth can have this preparation, and by youth I do not mean in terms by age, but by attitude. A person can be a youth even at the age of 85, and a person can be of old age even at the age of 25. I do not mean a vrud, elderly person, but an old person, because a vrud is a very beautiful word, and it means someone that's advanced, not in terms of years, but in terms of experience and wisdom. This is a person who is enriched. This is a person who is mature. This is a vruddha. If someone is ready to do whatever it takes, then consider that they're ready to attain wisdom of the soul. The second part of courage is that one should be prepared to go alone, to be alone. On the path of spiritual wisdom, the person should learn to be alone. The majority of people in society cannot be alone. In the 6th chapter, we will see when Shri Krishna explains meditation, he says, Ekantera Haishita, meaning remaining in solitude and alone. If we are alone in a crowd, then even the crowd becomes inside us, in our minds. One should learn to remain in solitude and be alone. The reason for this is that spiritual wisdom is not something you have to take from the outside, but something that comes from within. It is inside you, and you therefore have to learn to be with your own self. That is why courage is needed. One should have the courage to be alone. People are not able to do this. They always need someone to be around. When they're alone in a room, they grab a newspaper, call a friend, turn on television, or listen to the iPod. They can't stay alone. They may go shopping or call 3 or 4 friends. Their friends tell them that they bought everything that they need, and so they still decide to go shopping just for fun and to do window shopping. There is nothing to buy, yet they still go. The problem is that they want someone else and someone to go somewhere different. They want to go after a different person, a different object, a different thought, but they do not want to be alone. One should have the habit of remaining alone. I can see one reason why people do not want to remain alone. It's because they have no love towards themselves. A person likes to stay with someone whom they love. I'll change the words around and say that rather than remain alone, be with yourself. Yourself, separate words, not yourself, yourself. Not alone, but all in one. Everyone in you. People cannot do this because they don't love themselves. One should like to stay with someone who they love. If your cousin comes to your house, you may like to stay with her because you love her. You talk for so long and you won't even know where all the 5 hours went. After 5 hours, she'll say she's going and you plead with her to sit for longer, especially happens in Indian families. You like staying with her. A person can sit with a cousin for 5 hours and not know where all the time goes, yet they cannot even sit with themselves for 5 minutes. The meaning of this is that the person does not have as much love for themselves as they have with their cousin. The second fact is that a person fears being alone. What is this fear? It is a fear of themselves, because when a person is alone, then they open themselves up completely. He knows what it's like when he's alone. Psychologists say that if someone wants to find out about themselves, then they should stand in front of a mirror for 10 minutes. They should stand quietly in front of a mirror and observe themselves. By this, I don't mean grooming. Sit in front of a mirror. How long will it be able to look at yourself? People will find this hard. However beautiful the mirror looked when you're grooming yourself, the mirror will look that much frightening if you do nothing but look at yourself in the mirror. There's a very nice word for mirror in Gujarati. Anyone know? Say this word? I know. It's as if the mirror is saying, I know who you are. If a person knows what he is like, then he'll be scared when they face the mirror. If you make a mistake and the person in front of us knows about it, then it'll be hard for us to find the courage to face that person in front of us. If we can't find the courage to face another person when they know about the mistakes, then how can someone sit facing someone who knows all of their mistakes? He knows all the other person's mistakes, and that's why the person cannot remain alone. One must have the courage for this. The more that a person purifies themselves, then the more Nijanand they will have. Nijanand is a beautiful word, and it means when one's pleasure comes from the self. This happens when there's no dirt left inside oneself. When there was dirt inside, then it was difficult to go inside, but now a garden is going inside, and who doesn't love a garden? People love gardens a lot. The more one cleans themselves and create the garden within themselves, then the more that they can be with their self. A person may be involved in the material world, and they may have completely detachment, so the material world is necessary to them, but if they spend at least 15 minutes a day with their self, and keeps increasing every day, so that this time spent with the self reaches the ideal, which in my opinion is at least 1 hour, then they will learn to be alone. From the beginning, just start sitting alone for 15 minutes. Have no dependency or support from anyone else or even anything. This is a penance, and I'll elaborate upon it in the 6th chapter of the Gita when Shri Krishna explains meditation. Sit alone. I'm saying now that if you begin this effort now, then you enjoy so much when I speak about the 6th chapter. That is why I'm saying that you should begin it now. If you've not got any time, then just sit alone for a minimum of 15 minutes. Make a habit of it. When a person has courage, then he gets it for the wrong reason. He doesn't sit alone to do good things, but he schemes to do bad things. He says that nobody should know about this. Only I know about this. There's a missionary school, and every Friday, the father of the church would take 3/4 of an hour to teach the pupils about religion. The children were all aged either 14 or 15 and were studying in year 10. The father said that those who want to understand religion must trust in the meaning of learning to be alone. They must have the courage to be alone. He then gave an example. He told them to imagine that all the 40 children in the class go for a picnic for 2 days, Saturday to Sunday. He told them to imagine that they all get up in the morning and go for a walk, have fun. He said in the evening it would get cold and all the pupils would be shivering because it's cold outside. They would come back, eat some of the nicest food that they find tasty. They'll all be tired from running around the whole day, and they'll all go to sleep very quickly. But out of them, there would be one people who would have a rule to pray before going to bed every night. The other 39 children would be asleep and this one pupil is sitting alone on his bed praying to God. This one pupil can become religious because he has the courage to be alone. No matter if the 39 pupils go to sleep, this one pupil will stay awake and pray. You should have this courage. After the 45 minutes finished, of the class finished, the bell sounded, the class finished. After a week, the same period came, and the father came and told the pupils that he spoke last week about the courage to be alone, and asked the pupils if any of them had made efforts according to what he said, or even thought about what he said. One boy on the bench stuck his hand up and told the father that he had thought about it. The father got very happy and said at least one of the 40 pupils got ready. He asked the pupil what he thought about. The pupil asked him that if the 39 pupil fathers and him went for a picnic, then he'd come with them, he'd have fun for the whole day, then they would eat at night, and at night when the 39 fathers would sit down to pray, he would go to bed. You must have the courage to be alone. You must have the attitude that you alone would do this. One who wishes to attain wisdom of the soul must learn to form a habit of being alone. He must get Nijanand. Third, so we had resolve, courage. Third, there must be Sayam, which control. The reason for this, there are many people who try to take the same path. Shosha Dara Siti Dareta. The path is filled with holes and is filled with difficulties at the beginning. When these come up, people then wish to leave this path saying it's too difficult, they don't wish to do it. Even if you pass through all the difficulties at the beginning, then comes power. When power comes, then many types of greed comes to a person. For example, fame and prominence. Many types of powers come, and there's many types of greed. One must have strength to keep them under control and under their limits. On many occasions, people get powers and use them to create miracles. They can achieve what they want, and whatever they say happens. Therefore, they must therefore have Sayam, control. You cannot use these powers how you want. Many types of siddhis. Who know what siddhis are? The spiritual powers that come to you after meditation. Siddhis start coming when people go on the path of penances, and after a period of time, you see the person becomes purified. You can compare it to like when he was 10, 5 or even 3 years ago and see what he's like now. Many changes take place to his appearance, his manner of speaking, his behavior. As this happens, the more he becomes in control of himself, then he attains the light of the soul. A person that becomes lost and possessed by the powers that comes, halts on his development and sways on the path of going towards the soul. One must be in control of themselves. Only then does this great power of the soul awaken within them. This is the path of Sayam, control. The more one's Sayam control increases, then the power within him becomes awakened. What is this light of the soul like? Shri Krishna says in this verse that this wisdom lights up the Supreme Self like the sun. To attain this wisdom, there are 3 qualifications. First, one cleans their consciousness through karmas and penances. Second, they become beyond the means of life such as hearing, thinking and seeing. On hearing is very necessary. Because of hearing, we come into contact with thoughts. A person gets raw material from hearing and it helps him go forward in life. From hearing one gets inspiration. Otherwise, how can one get directed on the right path? But what if something goes through the ear and comes out through the other? That is why you need thinking, and what you hear must be registered in your mind. If even one good thought stays into your mind, then it becomes like a blade. These means are necessary. The third qualification is that the Supreme Soul becomes favorable towards him, which is Irsham. The first 2 qualifications are not enough to attain wisdom. In the Katha Upanishad, it is explained who attains the soul. Yam eva sham vrunda, meaning one whose soul accepts him. Because the ultimate choice is the soul's. If you wish to get a loan from the bank, then you have to make a good application. You write in nice words and there's strength in your case. You explain what you do for work and elaborate on your past record. You show how long you've taken loans in the past and have repaid them before the date of the last repayment. You show that you've paid all the installments properly. You do all of these things on your behalf. In the same way, when you cleanse yourself through karmas and penances, you then become beyond the means of life such as hearing, thinking and seeing. Just like you study the project and realize how much finance you need. You do all of this. However, the past is not enough. Just because your projects in the past went well and your record is good, it's not enough to get a loan. The bank manager needs to give his consent. All the preliminary things are necessary, and you cannot go to the final stage without them. They're necessary, but it's also possible that the first two qualifications are there, yet the bank manager doesn't give his consent. Then you need to prove something else again. The bank manager may ask you to bring back some paperwork or certificates. In the same way, in the end, when one gets the grace of the Supreme Soul, then the light of wisdom lights up the self like the sun. Shri Krishna uses the words tat agnanam. Tat agnanam. What is tat agnanam? This is a reference to the ignorance Shri Krishna described in the 15th verse, in the last verse of this chapter, and Shri Krishna is implying that what he's saying here is a continuation of that verse. That is why the word tat is used. Ignorance here means someone who forgets the eternal nature and regards themselves as one with the body. On the other hand, knowing oneself as eternal and the body as something different, or knowing oneself as the eternal residing in a temporary body, is wisdom. The ignorance goes away as a result of wisdom. What then is this wisdom? What is that which lights up the Supreme Self like the sun? It is Brahmavayam Aham Brahma Iva, or Aham Brahmasmi, meaning I am Brahman. This is wisdom. Just like the rays of the sun enable us to have the look at the objects in the world, when the light of Brahman comes, then the person can recognize his own swarup in the correct meaning. Because of this wisdom, the individual soul experiences the Supreme Soul. The individual soul realizes that he is not different from Brahman. He realizes that the penances he was doing to attain the Supreme Soul and Brahman have taken him to the stage where he realizes that that is God. Aham Atma Brahman. That which the Guru gave him the message about is himself. There was a word for that, but now he realizes that it's Aham Brahmasmi. I am God. These great statements are wisdom. It's the wisdom of oneness of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. You are never different, and you are thinking that you're different, but your duality was ignorance, but now your ignorance has gone. Vedanta Chindavali says, Nahi dharma hai na adharma tujh mein, dukh sukh bhi leshana, ye hai sabhi agnan mein, kartapana bhogtapana, tu ek drashta sarva ka, isha drashta se hen tutar, pehchan apna apko, hoja hajar, hoja amar. There is neither righteousness nor unrighteousness in you, neither are there pleasures or pains. All of these are in ignorance. In thinking that you are the doer and that you are the enjoyer, because you are the seer from far away, recognize yourself, be all-pervading, be immortal. Recognize that you are the Supreme Soul. You are the seer, but you consider yourself as the seen. When a person looks at themselves in the mirror and starts changing their reflection by putting makeup and paints, will anything happen? No, because they're doing all of this to the mirror. If someone injures themselves and looks at the mirror and puts bandages on the reflection, then will anything happen? No, but one's attention is only on the reflection and not on their real self. They never look at their real self. One should look at the reflection in order to identify themselves. We do that in reality by looking at the mirror, we groom ourselves. Then why does the individual soul not look at the reflection of the material world and groom his soul? Why does an individual soul keep looking at the reflection of the material world and keep grooming the material world? If someone grooms his reflection in the mirror, then it doesn't affect his body. In the same way, if all our efforts are directed towards the material world, for example, in thinking that one will be happy when they own a certain amount of money, or when the children reach a certain age, then we're looking for the medicine for our pains in the material world. While the medicine is running in the material world, then the cure never comes. One must direct the efforts towards the self. Only when the efforts go in that direction does a person go beyond pleasures and pains and reaches the state of bliss. He experiences Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. I'll show you an experiment. During the day, do at least one activity when you know that your effort is not directed towards the material world, but you're doing it for your pure soul and your clean swarup, your true form. You're doing it for yourself. That is Satchitananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am Shiva. That's existence, wisdom, bliss. You're not trying to impress someone else or doing something else which someone else will like. You're doing it for your own development. When such efforts increase, then you realize that you are really Shiva and that you are Satchitananda, existence, wisdom, bliss. It will be seen in your life. It will be seen in your behavior. You will get a unique sense of peace. There will be turbulence nearby wherever you look. In the ocean of the material world, there will always be waves, but the moment when you realize that you are not of the wave, but you're the ocean, how can you reach the state? How can one attain this wisdom? Shri Krishna explains this in the 17th verse.